the greatest Nigerian musicians, the greatest Nigerian pop artists, the greatest Nigerian rappers, often. But what is really greatness in context to Nigerian music and music in general?
It's a problem when I go on social media and I see people talking about, oh, my goat, oh, my this, my that. And a lot of people don't understand the context of putting arguments. For example, if you are going to make a list, there has to be a list of your favorites. There has to be a list of people you think are good. And there has to be a list of greatness. See, greatness has nothing to do with your preference or ability. Nothing. As a matter of fact, in the context of music, greatness is about distinction and how you've been able to achieve great things and beautiful things over time with distinction. It's about consistency. It's about your catalog. It's about your discography. It's about, in a way, it could be about awards, but awards are just by the way because awards are the popularity contest. It's about your impact, cultural impact, musical impact. It's about all those things independently of each other. So then, if two rappers or two artists are head to head, then you can then make the conversation about ability. Because look at it, prodigiously. Some of the greatest rappers of all time, for example, in the US, not Africa, they are not exactly the most prodigiously talented. Kanye West was mocked when they played his music for Fabulous and some other people in the 2000s and the late 90s and the early 2000s because they felt he wasn't that good. Look at it this way. Now, what Kanye West has been able to do, he has 4 critically acclaimed albums. 4. One of them might be the greatest rap album this century has seen. And that is my big soda to fantasy. Look at Drake. People mock Drake all the time. But can you deny his greatness? No. A rapper was the hottest artist of an entire decade. He was the highest selling artist of an entire decade. You might say he wasn't rapping doing that. But what do you identify him as? He's still a rapper. So it's about distinction. But a lot of people tend to conflate arguments of ability with preference and a lot of other things. And that's the problem we keep having. That's why a lot of people, as much as no lists will ever satisfy people, because nothing is definite in these conversations. But there has to be a conversation that will satisfy. For example, if you're going to come to me and say, Motolani, who are your top 3 rappers of all time? Your top 3 greatest. Who are the top 3 greatest Nigerian rappers of all time? I'm going to tell you that. Olamide, Emma Abaga, and Modine. Why? These guys have done it like no other person has done it before. It might be unfair to leave Idris Abdulkarim out. It might be unfair to leave someone like Rugged Man out. But at the same time, what those 3 guys have done, the level where they took it to, the things they say, the things they made music do. Modine was a lyricist, hardcore rapper, who was getting nominated for international awards. His 2010 album, Da Vinci Mode, was critically acclaimed and very popular in the Nigerian mainstream. A song like Give Me Bad Man, Give Me Bad Instrument was big as a hardcore rapper. So the things, those guys, you might say Olamide is not as lyrically talented, it might not be better than Modine lyrically. You might say it might not be better than MI lyrically. But in terms of commercial success, and being able to produce music, rap music that the Nigerian mainstream loves, that transcends hip-hop and goes beyond into the depths of Nigerian music. That's Olamide. In terms of someone who merged both lyricism and commercial appeal, Emma Abaga, nobody has done it like those guys. So look at it critically.
So you talked about time being a factor.
Yes.
If we are judging with time, is someone like Wande Cole a great artist?
That's actually very interesting. That's a very good question. The thing is, Wande Cole is a victim of his own entrance into the Nigerian music industry. For the time that he was here, he was destined for greatness.
He's still here. Yeah.
He's still here, but he never really replicated his motion to more hits moment. Never. He's had hits since then. He's had more than 8 hits since then. Look what, over 10. He has hits every year. This year he has again. And not be a hit. It was one of Nigeria's biggest songs of this year so far. Top 20. So But in terms of greatness, is Wande Cool, can he be termed one of the greatest Nigerian artists of all time? No. No. Why not? Why can't he? Because motion to more hits. Wande Cool has just 2 albums in 11 years. Only one of those albums was really critically acclaimed. And for a time, it's sort of the disappearance of Wande Cool made it easier for people like Wizkid and Davido and Burna Boy and all of them to just make inroads to the Nigerian mainstream and succeed, because it wasn't there. Because his label also had a turn-by-turn policy that might not have benefited him during that time. At that time. So Wande Cool, nah.
For sake of some disagreements,
yes,
in terms of generally both hip hop and pop music,
yes,
contemporary Nigerian music,
yes,
since '99,
yes,
can you give us your top 5 greatest
Nigerian rappers?
No Nigerian rappers.
Nigerian artists.
Contemporary Nigerian
of all
artists.
time.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. I would say Two-Face Idibia, number 1. Number 2, I would go with... I'll go with Wizkid.
Okay.
Number 2. I'll go with Wizkid as number 2. Number 3, I'll go with D'banj. Number 4, I'll go with Olamide. Number 5, I'll go with P-Square. That's it.
Okay. So what's the consistent themes around these five
artists
that made them great?
Number 1,
the impact over time.
Impact over time is the number 1. The impact. These guys were able to. P-Square's first major album last night was released in 2001. 2001. And they sustained that run for 14 years. That's unreal. Two-Face's first album with Remedies came in 1997 or 1998. With Plantation Boy, sorry. Came in 1997 or 1998. Since then, he's still here. He had a hit in 2018 with Amaka. He dropped an album this year. Might have been a good album, but it's still Two-Face. One of the best albums of his career, both from the Plantation Boys and from his own personal discography, his own catalog, is Away and Beyond, which was released in 2014. That's 17 years after Nigerians first got an introduction to it. Look at Wizkid. The hit Wizkid generated within the first 6-7 years of his career, nobody has that. Maybe only Two-Face or D'banj. Maybe only they are the ones that have had those runs. But even they never really had it with the features. Wizkid was 3 years in this country. Everything Wizkid touched was a hit. If he touched, he just had to do EAA on your record. It's a hit. And then you also have to look at the way, aside the longevity, aside the consistency, you also have to look at the impact of what they did. Wizkid is still one of Nigeria's top artists, and he's been here for 12 years. His first major entrance into the Nigerian music industry. He had been doing things in the background. He had a song like Mami Water back when it was Young Prince or Fresh Prince or whatever it was at the time. That's unreal. Look at Olamide. In terms of albums, Olamide was dropping bodies of work every year for about 5 years. Every blessed year. And I was having hits upon hits upon hits upon hits upon hits. Look at D'banj. In terms of entering into a country and owning the country, nobody has done that like D'banj. D'banj performed at the 2004 Independence Day concert in the UK. 2005, he dropped No Long Thing, his debut album. Like 2006, he was winning MTV EMA in Portugal. Unreal. In 2007, he dropped his sophomore album, Rundown. That album was basically a measure of songs from No Long Thing and Rundown. Caught fire. Third album, The Entertainer, a classic. After The Entertainer, went ahead and did Mr. Endowed. That's how many years? That's 6 years. 7 years. Then 8 years. He did. He made the song of the tournament for the 2012 Nations Cup. 2013 Nations Cup. It doesn't get bigger than that. That's 9 years at the top.
Okay, so rounding up, what's the impact of albums when you
judge this? Albums are very important. Whiskey doesn't necessarily have a discography. You have to look at that. But at the end of the day, he has one classic. Albums are very important. But at the same time, until 2019, the power of albums was sort of going out of style, just like videos. Until 2019, it wasn't necessarily important to have those things anymore. People would like consuming things in audio format. And singles, it was a singles market. I was talking to Oyakinende, that's the CEO of Music Time. He said it's been a singles market for a long time, and it's a fact. Singles were not running the market. Even till now, people can still go. If their legacy is not threatened, they can go for a long time without releasing an album. Especially now that you have EPs. People can just drop 5 songs here and then, put all their singles into one EP, drop it there, make it the body of work. So it's a singles market largely. But at the same time, when it comes to the part of legacy, your albums have to speak for you. Your discography has to matter. And that's where albums must come in. If you don't have the albums, that's when you are going to have a conversation about greatness in 3 years. If Burna Boy sustains this run, Burna Boy might transcend everybody else. You know why? Because the trifecta, in terms of the first 3 albums in a person's career, only Idris Abdulkarim and Olamide have done it on the level of Burna Boy. In terms of 3 straight albums quality, Idris had Pass, he had the second album, then he had Mr. Lecturer. Olamide had Rhapsody, which wasn't really a good album, but you can't deny its impact. He had YBNL, he had Baddest Guy Ever Lived. Okay, and if you don't want to do that, he had YBNL, Baddest Guy Ever Lived, and his 4th album. Burna Boy has Outside, African Giants, and Transcend stuff. You can't take that out of the conversation. Albums, going forward, I have a theory that, hot take now, albums are going to be more important over the next 5 years. It's still going to be a singles market, but the power of an album to showcase the artistry of an artist is going to be more important than it has been over the past 10 years.
It's never going to be. It has always been that way in terms of album.
No, not really.
Everyone you mentioned now was doing because of love.
Not really. So here's the thing. Those guys, they had hot singles. For example, when P-Square started dropping video albums in this country, they became hot property. And what were the things on those video albums? Singles. The band, one of the major reasons why Entertainment was so huge was because the band had 3 hot singles on that album before the album even dropped. From Wizkid's Superstar, 3 singles, at least 4 singles, hit singles, back to back. Everybody else. So you can't really say it's always been like this. It's not always been like this. It's never always been like this. And that's factual.